we know that the demonic realm is real. We know that Satan wants to target children. And so, I think this movie's rated PG-13 or whatever. And so you take your kids to go see it because you see Jack Black on the cover. And all of a sudden you have shifted the idea of good and evil in the minds of these little children. And there is this invitation now in front of them that seems to be okay in regards to inviting the demonic, inviting what is evil, inviting what, does not look good. And the reality is, like, children can't fight the demonic.
Evil is just not evil anymore.
Right.
And people don't understand the darkness of it, the danger of it. The demonic is real.
Yeah.
It doesn't play fair.
Right.
And now if you have curious children that go,
Yep.
like, how do we do this?
Well, hey there, you're watching What Was That About? Thank you for joining us for today's episode. My name is Moses Khan. I am with lead pastor here at All People's Church, Dr. Tony Soldano. How you doing, Pastor?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
All right.
Enjoying the Christmas season.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We should spread that far and wide.
It's true.
Say it as often as we can.
Honestly, it's good. One of my favorite times of the year.
Yes.
Such a blessing, so joyous.
Yes.
And man, we got lots of stuff going on. Probably for us as the church, probably one of our busiest, probably the busiest season for us.
I would think so.
As the church, and it's just great.
I would think so.
So much happening.
Yeah.
Just love it.
A lot of excitement, a lot of festivities and banquets, and
Yeah.
a lot of celebrating.
So good. Great time for movies to come out. Great movies, Hallmark movies, and the rest of it, I'm sure.
Gladiator, was that a good Christmas movie?
Gladiator. Was that a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
But it was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Jack Black decided to release a Christmas movie called Dear Santa, in which there's a kid who writes a letter to Santa, except he gets the letters confused and he writes it to Satan.
Right.
And so it goes to Satan, and the premise is Satan gets summoned by this kid, and he has some wishes he can use Satan for. And so Satan befriends this kid, and this kid befriends Satan. What a lovely Christmas story. And so I'm hearing a lot of stuff about this movie, even on TikTok. I follow some guys who, do like cinema reviews and stuff like that. So they just blasted this thing, even from a secular perspective, that this movie just was terrible.
Right.
Was terrible. But you look at this and it's like, it's how far we've come. I mean, we can now just put it in people's faces that, hey, Satan is somebody you can befriend. Satan is somebody your children can befriend. And he'll grant them wishes. Merry Christmas.
Wow.
I don't know what you think about this, but it is just wild.
Well, you know what? I can't wait to get past October because I hate that whole Halloween,
right?
Demonic aspect of everything that goes on there in movies and horror movies and all that. But now they're clearly bringing it into the Christmas season. You know what? I think this is very dangerous.
Yeah.
I think this is incredibly dangerous and incredibly irresponsible. Not that I'm expecting Hollywood to be responsible, but and I'm sure the haters out there will be like, oh, this is just this is a joke. This is just a funny story.
It's entertainment.
It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Don't be so sensitive. This is exactly the issue. This is exactly the issue that there is this desensitization to Satan and the demonic, right? I think you said in the story that ultimately the Satan turns good, right? That somehow the child, redeems him,
right?
And then he likes the child. And
so
first of all, let's be very clear: there is nothing redeemable. We're not talking about Ebenezer Scrooge. We're not even talking about the Grinch, right? That is the beauty, right? That is the beauty of the story of Christmas, is the redemption story.
Absolutely.
In Satan and then the demonic, there is nothing good, nothing redeemable, nothing that will turn him in any way, shape, or form. And that's what people, A, need to understand.
Yeah.
And then B, to express the idea that children can just connect with Satan like this.
Why?
Like what are we saying?
Why?
Like what are we trying to deliver here? To little children that are watching this.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's scary because we know that the demonic realm is real. We know that Satan wants to target children. And so, I think this movie's rated PG-13 or whatever. And so you take your kids to go see it because you see Jack Black on the cover. And all of a sudden you have shifted the idea of good and evil in the minds of these little children. And there is this invitation now in front of them that seems to be okay in regards to inviting the demonic, inviting what is evil, inviting what, does not look good. And the reality is, like, children can't fight the demonic. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot redeem Satan. He is unredeemable.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us that the lake of fire was created for him and his demons. And so this is something that we have to understand. And people are going, oh, come on, it's just Jack Black. He's a comedian. He's trying to be funny and the rest of it. But you don't realize the small little, lines in the sands that we kind of erase as it comes to desensitizing ourselves, our minds. That's all it takes. And then it's like, okay, let's invite some more. Let's invite some more. Let's push the line a little bit further. And so now Sally has an imaginary friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like parents aren't concerned.
Right.
And it's like, so we have to press into this and go, hey, this is demonic. This is not good. And it's going to desensitize our children in the worst way.
Yeah. A couple of things that you said there, where evil is just not evil anymore.
Right.
And people don't understand the darkness of it, the danger of it. The demonic is real.
Yeah.
It doesn't play fair.
Right.
And now if you have curious children that go, oh,
Yep.
like how do we do this? That is exactly the invitation. So that's what the premise of the movie is, right? Hey, you called me.
Yep.
You wrote me a letter, whether you misspelt the name or not. That's your problem because that's the way, the enemy of our soul works, right? He looks for every license and every loophole.
Yeah.
And there's no fairness about him.
Right.
And so now you're going to open up a world. If the whole sexualization of children wasn't bad enough, now we have the demonic. And we've talked about this even in our end time programs, right? This whole idea of the demonic and Satan and all these evil spirits being normalized. It's being normalized. It's the sensitivity is dropping so that when Antichrist comes and when these things come in full force in the last days, people will be ready. They'll go, oh yeah, we've heard about this and it's okay. Here, we understand. And by the way, in the end times, he becomes the hero, right? They worship him.
Yep.
The world worships him. They create images about him and all his little hordes of characters, the Antichrist, the beast, and the false prophet, and all the rest of them that the Bible tells us about.
Yeah.
And so it's all preparing. It's all preparing. But what is really concerning is this idea that they are clearly targeting the children. Get that generation to be so normalized with wickedness and evil, so that it's not even a thing.
Yeah.
It's not even a thing.
What I love about the Christmas story, the actual Christmas story of Jesus, is that darkness is not something to befriend. Darkness is something to overcome.
Right.
That the story of Jesus actually conquers darkness. It doesn't befriend darkness.
Yeah.
It conquers it. The light comes into the darkness. The light takes over.
Yes.
And so that's the beauty of our Christmas story. And that story has power. That story has power. That story is the gospel. And it has the ability to actually change us and transform us so that we understand that, hey, we actually have the light of the world inside of us.
Right.
That doesn't befriend darkness, it overcomes it. And I think that's important for us to understand, because we want to be careful that we don't get wooed by, hey, well, this is just that time of year. This is just entertainment. This is just this. But it's like, no, we got to proclaim the story of Jesus as something that still presents hope and still presents light into the world that is broken and that is dark and that is demonic. And this story overcomes it. It doesn't befriend it. It overcomes it.
Yeah. And what did Jesus say about that? He said people love the darkness.
Yeah.
People love the dark. At the end of the day, you're right. They've seen the light. They've understood the light. They get the message of Christ, of redemption, of overcoming. But the reality is that in some aspects, they love darkness.
Yeah.
Now, with those people, what can you do? That's what they're going to do. Clearly, there are people behind this idea that, as we keep saying that, oh, you know what, don't be so, don't be so wound up so tightly. Well, if we're not going to be wound up tightly about things like this, then what are we going to be
100%.
Wound up about? And if parents aren't wound up, like exactly what are we here to do? And so, yes, we are here to declare the story of Christ, the birth of the light, the birth of the good news that ultimately not only overcomes the darkness, but destroys it.
That's right.
Unfortunately, the darkness wants to take as many people as it can with it. And we are saying, hey, be drawn to the light. Pastor Mo, when if you have a cockroach problem, the cockroaches don't like the light, right? They scatter, they run. And so even in nature, we just see what the light does. Ultimately, the light is more powerful. Yeah. The light will overcome. But we are living in some very peculiar days. Yeah. And we need to be aware. We need to be discerning, and we need to call things out the way they are.
Yeah, and just to bring awareness, even for our audience, and I know some of our audience, or many of them, are parents, and hey, you got to know that these things are happening, and be aware of what so-called entertainment for children actually has hidden within it, whether it's books or movies or TV shows or whatever. It's like, as parents, you ought to know. You got to do some research into what is being thrown at these children.
Right. So I guess to your point, Satan couldn't even make a good movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thank God it is a trash movie, because if it's a good movie, it makes it even more difficult.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
And so hopefully it'll just drift away like other nonsense has. But
I think it will. Yeah.
I think there needs to be pushback. There needs to be pushback that this is just not. This is not acceptable.
100%.
This is not acceptable. And the more we just kind of either turn a blind eye or minimize it, I think we do an injustice to those that are vulnerable to the story. It kind of reminds me of, sometimes children are on their laptops or whatever, and, you push one wrong key, and all of a sudden it takes you down a rabbit hole that opens up a world of hell and wickedness, and they do it by design. So, the devil is crafty, right? He knows how to entrap and ensnare people. And so we need to be aware of his devices.
Yeah, we do. And we got to use wisdom as well, right? Not to just hand a child even a phone and the social media and let them go wild. And there's so much we can do in terms of a practical standpoint.
But I thought you made a great point. How do we combat things like this? Tell the story.
That's it. Yeah.
Tell the true story. Give the real meaning. I recognize there's a lot of commercialism. I get it. There's a lot of confusing stories. But at the end of the day, tell the true story.
That's it.
Because the truth will defeat the lie.
So good. Well said. Well, hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hopefully this brought some awareness to you. Hey, if you're a parent watching, these are some of the things that you got to look out for. And you can even find resources online that help you discern what movies have inside of them hidden, and TV shows and the rest of it. But let us know in the comment section what you think about this. And if you know any resources that'll help some other parents out, man, share that in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like this video, share it with a couple people you know. Pastor, thank you for this conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, God bless you. We'll see you next time.